Hello and welcome to CT Brandon. My name is Charles. I'm one of the pastors here. Thank you for joining us online today. In just a few moments, we have special guests all the way from the UK, Richard and Lois, friends of Pastor Michael's, who have a story of miraculous healing. This series, The Summertime Stories of Hope, has been so needed. It has been deeply encouraging to me to hear all these stories that inspire hope, and I'm sure this one will do exactly that. And hey, if you missed some, don't worry, we've got them all here on our YouTube channel. And if you're new here, we would love to get to know you. Would you just head over to ctbrandon.com, click that I'm new button, give us a little bit of info, and we can get in touch with you during the week. Hey, if you haven't yet, would you hit that like button? Maybe share this video with a friend, consider subscribing, and make sure to stick around to the end because we have some exciting things happening here at CT we think you might want to know about. So let's turn things over to Richard and Lois.
Hello, my name's Richard and this is my wife Lois, and we're recording this video today from this wide beam barge here in Bristol in the UK. And we live in a small town called Portishead just outside of Bristol with our 5 children. And I think it was back in 2011 that we first met Michael and Amberley. They brought a small short-term missions team over to Portishead to help us in the church plant that we were involved in at the time. And they stayed in our home, we got to know them, and over the years we've kept in contact. And we just want to thank you, Michael, for the invitation today, just to take a few moments of your time to share a little bit about our story. And Lois is going to start us off in a second and take us back to a time before the COVID pandemic that God was speaking to us about what was next in our lives.
How often in church do we define things as seasons? Back in 2019, Rich and I were exploring what our next season would be. And we've been praying and seeking God to help us understand what that would look like. I came across a job advert looking for some people to complete a feasibility study of what chaplaincy would look like in a city centre. So we applied and we were successful to complete the feasibility study. We connected with a lot of churches, a lot of charities, a lot of voluntary organisations to begin to see a picture of what chaplaincy could look like. And we came to the conclusion that it was a unique ministry, a ministry that was part of the church that they couldn't reach. After we completed the feasibility study, we presented that to the board, and they were really excited and looking forward to what we'd presented. And they asked us to launch the project. And then COVID-19 hit.
So nothing much happened with the project through the COVID-19 pandemic, and it was in November of 2020, that year of the pandemic, that we were sat watching TV one night and Lois had a severe headache that just wasn't normal, very sudden, and to cut a long story short, she was rushed into hospital by ambulance, and later that night the consultant rang and told me that she'd had a brain aneurysm that had burst while she was in A&E. She'd had surgery that night to relieve the pressure on her brain and was having more surgery the day after to block up the bleeding blood vessel in her brain. And the prognosis was particularly poor. A few days later, the consultant rang me and explained that if Lois survived the next 24 hours, that I needed to prepare myself that she would be severely disabled for the rest of her life because of the damage that had been caused to her brain. And in that moment, God told me that this whole situation was not about me or Lois, but it was about the kingdom and about the testimony of Lois's healing. And we had friends and family all over the world, and friends of friends and friends of family that were praying for Lois during that time. I wrote blogs to keep people informed of what was happening, and they were read by many of our non-Christian family and friends, and I was quite keen in that to tell the story of what God was going to be doing in her life, and the belief and the faith that we had in God's healing for her. When she came out of intensive care, she was paralysed down one side of her body. She was blind and unable to talk, just talking gibberish. But it was through those prayer and God's grace in her life that she was healed. And the story, it's just been an incredible blessing to us to experience God's healing in such an incredible way in her life. So Lois, why don't you share with us some of the memories that you have from that time?
I don't really remember much of my time in hospital, but I do remember the evening before I had my first eye appointment to help me understand what was going on and why I couldn't see. And in my distress and in that moment, I heard a gentle voice, and God just spoke to me and said, "I've not brought you this far not to be able to see again." When I came home from hospital, my physio was my key worker with the therapies that I had at home. One of my psychology sessions that I had was about how my brain would make new pathways. And again, in that moment, God spoke to me and said, "Oh, everything will be okay because I can just learn how to do things over again." And I'm really pleased to say that in January of this year, I made it back into a small group to go back to training kettlebells. Something that I've been passionate about for many, many years. We also were in a position where we could relaunch Bristol Chaplaincy. And the vision document, the feasibility study that we'd written, we were so excited about relaunching.
So I'm just going to talk to you for a few moments now about Bristol Chaplaincy. And as Lois said earlier on, chaplaincy is an incredible ministry that allows us to go out from our churches and into places that the church can't reach, into businesses, organisations, into sports clubs, hospitals and many other settings, schools. And since relaunching Bristol Chaplaincy and seeing that vision start to come to place, God has opened so many doors for us. Every Monday I spend half a day at a local professional rugby club supporting the players and the staff, the Bristol Bears. On Tuesdays we have chaplains in the University of Law. Every Tuesday and Wednesday we're on this barge which is in the middle of a big business district in the harbour side in Bristol. And we run a chaplaincy hub where anyone can just drop in to speak to someone, to talk in confidence, to receive prayer. And then we have a small team that Lois runs on a Friday in the Crown Courts in the city centre here, supporting people going through the courts process, be it victims of crime, witnesses, defendants, their families, and the jurors, the staff and the judges at the courts. And we've got many new opportunities that are coming our way. In September, we're really excited to be launching a new on-site chaplaincy, on-site at a major high street bank's headquarters, which is just next door to where we are right now. And we're also launching a new harbourside chaplaincy, which is the harbourside in Bristol is huge, and we're going to be supporting the businesses that surround the harbour, the boat yards, the tourist attractions, the restaurants, but also the boat owners and the dwellers, the people that live on the water. And there's no church that is currently doing any kind of mission or outreach to that community. So we're really excited about what God's going to be doing. And other opportunities that we have that we're just kind of waiting and holding on to until a place that we're kind of ready to kind of launch something new, is we've got opportunities to start chaplaincy work in the retail area of Bristol, in the arts and in our theatres. In the local government, we've got an invitation to bring a chaplain onto site and to create another couple of hubs like this that people can drop into for support. So we very much appreciate your prayers. You know, every week we're speaking to people that are facing significant challenges in their lives. We show them God's love and compassion. We kind of empathise with the situations that they're in and walk a journey with them to a place where they can find their way through their situations. People that are suffering with financial problems, struggling with loneliness or anxiety or depression. People that are struggling with their children or family or relationships with friends. People that are bereaved and struggling with the loss of a loved one. There are many reasons why people need to talk. And chaplaincy gives people that opportunity to talk to someone. And we, through that, as we listen, we show God's love and offer prayer and speak about how faith has made a difference in the situations that we faced. So we'd very much appreciate your prayers as we continue to grow this exciting project. And we need to double our volunteer team. We have 8 volunteers at the moment that we've kind of recruited over this last 12 months. We need to double that team by the end of the year. We're fundraising. So the thing that's holding us back from launching those new opportunities is our funding. So we're fundraising and writing off for grant applications and to organisations. We're talking to churches about sponsoring us within Bristol and launching community partnerships in the communities around their churches so that they can support people in their communities. And our vision is to see a local community chaplaincy project launched in every community across the whole of Greater Bristol, linked into its local church. So people in that local community can speak to their local chaplain, who can invite them into their local church. So please pray for us. We're really excited about what God's doing for us and doing in terms of this vision that he's given us and the impact that we're making in people's lives. One last thing I just wanted to share really was we got linked in with an organisation, the Gideon's organisation in the UK, called Good News for Everyone, a few months ago now, just by chance, and they've very kindly funded, I think, 1,000 Bibles that we can have with our branding on, with a little personal message that we've had printed inside, and links to our website and the support that we can give out free of charge to the people that we support. And we're really excited that they've just been delivered this week, and we're really excited to be starting to giving those Bibles out to people that we're supporting. So finally, if you want to read out a little bit more about our story, about the ministry, particularly about the healing that Lois has gone through and the journey that we had through that season, we've written the story in 3 short blogs on our blogging website, thefaithnarrative.co.uk. So if you want to read those, you'd be very welcome to read up a little bit more about what happened through that season that we've now come through. So thank you for this opportunity to speak and share our story today. And I just want to encourage you, if you're facing challenges in your life, absolutely God can make a difference in those challenges. He can bring a peace, he can bring a perspective, he can bring his love, and he can bring a healing in whatever it is that you're facing. So please just talk to someone. Take that opportunity, whoever it is, to start talking about the struggles that you have and receive the love and the grace that God has for you. So thank you very much. We just hope that you've been encouraged today by our story.
Hey, thank you for sticking around to the end. We would love to know what part of the service today stood out to you, or maybe you have some questions. Let us know in the comments. And if you haven't already, would you like this video and consider subscribing to our channel? If you're new here, don't forget to click the link in the description and connect with us. We would really love to get to know you. Can you imagine it's the first day of school and you don't have the same school supplies that everyone else is pulling out of their backpack? It's got to be so discouraging. Well, let's make sure this doesn't happen to any children in our community. Let's make sure they have the best start to the school year possible. We partner together with United Way's Tools for Schools program and collect supplies for children in our community. And each year, United Way provides supplies for over 900 children. Our goal this year is to help provide supplies for 75 children. And there are two ways you can do that. You can either donate money, the suggested donation is about $45 or any amount helps, or you can get the supplies on the school supply list that you can find at ctbrandon.com on the events tab. Are you feeling bored? Or maybe you know someone who's feeling bored. Just head over to ctbrandon.com, click on the events tab. There's going to be more information on these events and so much more happening here at CT and at camps this summer. Here at CT, we believe giving is an expression of worship. If you're new here, please don't feel compelled to give. Giving is about us. See, God doesn't need our money. It's an act of worship that reorientates our priorities. If you're interested in learning more about giving, you should really watch the message Cleaning Up Mark Part 6. Pastor Michael does a great job of explaining that in detail. But again, if you're new here, please don't feel compelled to give. The money we receive here at CT helps support everything we do here, like the parking lot party we had in June, or the Tools for Schools program, or the amazing discipleship programs we have for youth, or events for youth and children over the summer. Thank you so much. All of this is possible because of your generosity and your tithes and your offerings here at CT. So if you did come prepared to give, the best fee-free way is e-transfer to info@ctbrandon.com. But if you prefer another way, hey, head over to our website, again, ctbrandon.com, and click the Give tab, and they'll all be right there. So thank you once again for joining us online, and may you have a wonderful week.
With every step I take, I'm becoming the person you call me to be, a child